Hey there YouTube. So it's Dan here back with another video, and tonight I have a story for you and hoping that you guys understand this spooky framing we have here. I want to tell you guys a scary story from one of my favorite scary story podcasts, and that would be the No Sleep podcast. If I remember, the link will be down in the description below. But we're going to tell one of my favorite stories, which is Feeding the Pig. So without further ado, here we go. Have you ever been to a point where you have had life just hit you down so many times where you've come to an end? You know, where you think that there is no hope left and you should probably just end it all. Well, this man did exactly that. He went to his garage after finding out his wife was leaving him. He just got fired from his job and he saw no hope in sight. So he went to his garage, grabbed a rope, made a noose, and I think you can kind of tell what happened from there. This is his story of feeding the pig. His name was John. John then awoke in a chair in an all-white room that was very, very dirty. He realized he was bound to the chair, ankles and wrists and chest, bound by chains. He realized where he was and tried to figure out what was going on. He wasn't sure. The last thing he could remember is darkness. In a form of pure panic, he starts to scream. At that point, he realized he is gagged in the mouth with a rag, a very dirty, tasting rag. Next thing he notices is a man come walking through the doorway that seemed to just appear in front of him. Two double doors open up, and a man called Daniel starts walking in. Daniel approaches John and then takes off the rag from his mouth. Seeing this, first thing out of his mouth is, "What's going on? Who are you? Where am I?" The generic questions that you ask in such a situation. He then stares into Daniel's eyes, Daniel staring back at him, in a quite nice looking suit that just seems to be worn for too long of a time. Daniel then explains to John that he has just done something that he probably shouldn't have. He explains to him that he is now in a form of a limbo. This place is called the farm. Long ago, God and the devil did not know what to do with those who committed suicide. So God thus made the farm. The farm is a different place for those where he just doesn't know what to do with them. In this farm, in this area, he appointed the pig in charge. The pig, now having this omnipotent type power, realized that he wanted to create things for himself. Thus the farm became a land of normal suicides, now to this evil, bitter place that's very similar to hell itself. Daniel also explains to him that he has two choices, which he can either stay here at the farm and live all of eternity, or he could feed the pig. Before John answers, Daniel tells him that Daniel will return. And when he does return, he wants to have his answer. He tells him to take his time because time here is not bound by anything. So as Daniel leaves and John is screaming for him to come back and give him more information, another person comes in. This person is Jackie. Jackie has one eye, burnt hair, and many other wounds that she has sustained. Jackie was also a suicide that chose her time to spend here. Instead of feeding the pig, she chose to stay here. John, understandably, started asking her a plethora of questions. Jackie looked at him dead in the eyes and said, "Don't be a coward twice. Choose wisely." She then left John there. Next thing John knows is he's thrashing back and forth. He realizes something's biting at his feet. He looks down and in utter horror, he sees this man that is now a worm-like creature and is sewn in his own flesh, bound by a chain around his neck and is gnawing at John's toes. John obviously freaks out and starts trying to kick him off, but with having bound feet, it's much harder than he thought. He ends up jumping the chair up and down, squashing the man to death. When John looks up from following the chain, he sees a pig-like creature. The pig-like creature grins at John, picks up the worm-like man, and drags him off out of the room. In a fit of rage and fear, he screams out for Daniel to tell him to take him to the pig. He says that he wants to feed the pig. He has made his decision and he is confident in what he wants to do. Daniel appears, releases him from his chains, and puts a bag over his head. He then walks him through what he assumes is the farm. He can hear nothing but horror, terror, burning, cries of pain, and what he can assume to be the closest thing to hell that exists. Daniel is walking John until he has him stop at a pair of 2 doors. Through those doors, he then feels something breathing against him. He can tell it's the pig. The pig feels massive. Obviously very confused by the situation, he asks Daniel what he's supposed to do next. Daniel tells him that to keep his eyes closed, walk forward, and keep crawling and not to stop. John asks Daniel what happens next. Daniel replies, if he does not taste good, the pig will choose to send him to hell. If he does enjoy his taste, he will consider giving him a second chance. With this new information that is brought to John, he then reconsiders his actions. He wants to see if he can make another choice. Daniel says it's not possible. He's already here and he has chosen his path, and he must crawl all the way through. John begins to crawl forward, feeling his way through the darkness that is concealed by the bag. He ends up crawling into the pig's mouth and crawling all the way, feeling the pig crunch his bones, wondering when the pain will end and where he will end up by the time he reaches the end of this horrifyingly moist tunnel. John, in excruciating pain, wonders everything he could have done, wonders why he did what he did, and doesn't know what to do next, but all he can think of is to keep crawling forward and keep enduring. Finally, John falls into a deep blackness, assuming that he's now been swallowed completely by the pig. Feeling he's going to fall forever, he finally hits something hard. He opens his eyes, and it's his shed floor. Above him, he can see the noose that he had tied for himself. Unrealistically, it had snapped, not letting him actually die. Unsure on whether what he had just been through was a dream or was the real thing, he was sure that he needed to get things straight for himself, knowing that there is nothing on this earth that could be as bad as feeding the pig. It's probably the worst word I could have used.